evening, good afternoon, or perhaps good morning to my royals. We are here once again with more Meet Your Strawman. This is part 20. Let me stop this mesmerizing classical tune in the background, which has just got me fired up and ready to go. Yesterday we spoke about Nixon and how he wanted more of this, so he basically threw up 25% of the US land as collateral because he's a total douchebag. Now we're going to learn more about how the media are completely full of shit and you don't listen to anything that they're saying. Let's continue. With open lands for collateral already in short supply, the US government embarked on a new program to shore up sagging international demand for the dollar. The United States approached the world's oil-producing nations, mostly in the Middle East, of course, and offered them a deal. In exchange for only selling their oil for dollars, the United States would guarantee not to invade their country. Oh, no, it's actually the military safety of those oil-rich nations. The oil-rich nations would agree to spend and invest their US paper dollars inside the United States, in particular in US Treasury bonds, redeemable through future generations of US taxpayers. Wow. The concept was labelled the petrodollar. In effect, the US, no longer able to back the dollar with gold, was now backing it with oil. Other people's oil. And the necessity to control those oil nations in order to prop up the dollar has shaped America's foreign policy in the region ever since. But as America's manufacturing and agriculture has declined, the oil-producing nations faced a dilemma. Those piles of US Federal Reserve notes were not able to purchase much from the United States because the United States had little which anyone wanted to buy, other than real estate. Europe's cars and aircraft, they were superior and they were less costly, while experiments with GMO food crops led to nations refusing to buy any US food exports. I don't blame them. Israel's constant belligerence against its neighbours caused them to wonder if the US could actually keep up their end of the petrodollar agreement. Oil-producing nations started to talk of selling their oil for whatever currency they fucking chose. Iraq, already hostile to the United States following Desert Storm, demanded the right to sell their oil for euros in 2000, and the United Nations agreed to allow it in 2002. Oh, thank you, Daddy United Nations, let me sell my oil. Under the Oil for Food program instituted following Desert Storm. 1 year later, the United States re-invaded Iraq, lynched Saddam Hussein, and placed Iraq's oil back on the world market only for US dollars. No weapons of mass destruction, just a shady, nefarious scheme going on in the background to completely rip off foreign countries over and over and over again. But we get fed a news story like, hey, they got weapons of mass destruction, we're going in there, playing the good guy when they are the bad guy. Following 9/11, the US policy shifted away from being an impartial broker of peace in the Middle East to one of unquestioned support for Israel's aggressions, only further eroded confidence in the petrodollar deal, and even more oil-producing nations started openly talking of trade for other global currencies. I'll give you this oil for 100 dildos. Over in Libya, Muammar Gaddafi had instituted a state-owned central bank and a value-based trade currency. You know where this is going already, the gold dinar. Gaddafi announced that Libya's oil was for sale, but only for the gold dinar. Other African nations, seeing the rise of the gold dinar and the euro, even as the US dollar continued its inflation-driven decline, flocked to the new Libyan currency for trade. This move had the potential to seriously undermine the global hegemony of the dollar. So French President Nicolas Sarkozy reportedly went so far as to call Libya a threat to the financial security of the world. In other words, America, we control all the money here. As you can see, they've taken the heat off Britain and moved into America. So, the United States invaded Libya. You didn't see this one coming? Oh, yes, you did. Of course you did. Brutally murdered Gaddafi. Obviously, the object lesson of Saddam's lynching was not enough of a message, apparently. Imposed a private central bank and returned Libya's oil output to, you guessed it, dollars only. The gold that was to have been made into the gold dinars is, as of last report, unaccounted for under the Vatican. According to General Wesley Clark, the master plan for the dollarification of the world's oil nations included 7 targets: Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. And you might as well count in Venezuela. What is notable about the original 7 nations, originally targeted by the US, is that none of them are members of, you guessed it, the Bank for International Settlements. The private central bankers and their giant ass dildos, private central bank located in Switzerland, this meant that these nations were deciding for themselves how to run their nation's economies, rather than submit to the big ass pounding private international bankers. Now, the bankers' gun sights were set on Iran, which dares to have a government-controlled central bank and sell their oil for whatever currency they choose. How dare you, human! The war agenda is, as always, to force Iran's oil to be sold only for dollars and to force them to accept a privately owned central bank. Comes with a complimentary dildo. I've said dildo so many times, I don't know why. Now, the German government just recently asked for the return of some of their gold bullion from the Bank of France and the New York Federal Reserve. France has said it will take 5 years to return Germany's gold. The United States has said they will need 8 years to return Germany's gold. This suggests strongly that the Bank of France and the NY Federal Reserve have used the deposited gold for other purposes. That's right, and they are scrambling to find new gold to cover the shortfall and prevent a gold run. Apparently the Anunnaki have come down in spaceships and taken the gold. So France suddenly invades Mali, ostensibly to combat Al-Qaeda, with the US joining in. I'm going to stop it there so we can start off with a bit of heat tomorrow, even though this whole thing was a giant exposure of the BS that is the United States. And they were lucky enough to get a dozen dildos from me. I give it 5 dildos out of 5. Look, this shit's crazy. I know a lot of people are like, what the fuck? But yeah, everything that we've been told is a lie. So yeah, make the truth your own. But don't stay in the default movie playing out. You know, like be the star of your own movie. Don't be the extra in theirs. Because their movie is garbage, man. It's Rotten Tomatoes. Didn't even get 1%.